Order, honourable members.
Honourable House Chairperson, this debate comes only a few days after the world commemorated World Press Freedom Day. May I therefore take this opportunity to thank all the members of the press in South Africa who continue to play a vital role in supporting and protecting our democracy. And Honourable Minister, I must say at the outset that I think some of the comments that you made pertaining to our media is worrying, to say the least. I mean, we can't simply expect the media just to tell good stories because it suits our government. And any attempts to stifle media freedom or freedom of expression must be condemned. Honourable Chairperson, we must face our challenges head on. To this end, the IFP recently met with the SABC to discuss some of our pressing concerns. Some of these concerns pertain to the fact that our public broadcaster is routinely accused of acting more like a state broadcaster. And we saw echoes of this when the Minister of Social Development recently visited Port Elizabeth. There, the Honourable Minister faced a revolt from an angry crowd. And yes, the story did make it to the news, but the people's revolt against our government was not shown. So as we head into the local government elections, Honourable Minister, we need the assurance that political parties will receive fair coverage and equal treatment. We need the undertaking that there will be no political meddling in the affairs of the SABC, and no canning of politically sensitive programs, which has been the case in recent times. It must also be noted that under this minister's leadership, policy direction has taken a sharp turn for the worse. The Broadcasting Amendment Bill, which this budget will fund, will further erode the credibility and the independence of the public broadcaster. While concerns about the SABC's financial credibility and stability remains, we must also give credit where credit is due. The SABC's plans to finally source more of its content locally should be welcomed. Over many years, producers have expressed concerns about the excessive red tape pertaining to the commissioning of content. This initiative is certainly a step in the right direction. Honourable Chairperson, we must also ask ourselves the question today, why is it that we continue to allow corporate communications bullies to make excessive profits at the expense of struggling South Africans? Well, I know there are two sides to the coin. The failure to expand broadband services nationwide, especially to rural communities, is a failure that this government will not live down. But I know that function now resides with the Postal Services and Communications Department, Telecommunications Department. But the fact of the matter remains that the excessive cost to communicate in South Africa hampers not only our economic growth, but it denies opportunities to millions of unemployed young people. This is an issue that deserves far greater focus and effort, Honourable Minister. Under your leadership, Minister, ICASA must act decisively in this regard. But will they? Previous efforts in this regard have come to naught. Citizens are being ripped off, data disappears without a trace, while the pay-as-you-go data prices remain absurdly high. Minister, we thank you for the plans you've outlined in terms of the digital migration process, but the fact remains it is now long overdue. Yet there is still no clarity on how this department will cover the R3 million shortfall for households that cannot afford the set-top box. It must also be said that this department cannot claim gender parity or claim to respect people living with disabilities, while it fails to meet the minimum employment targets in this regard. In conclusion, Honourable Chairperson, the former head of the GCIS, Mr. Tembu Maseko, recently admitted that he was ordered to divert government advertising to the new age. 6 years later, and it's not only the GCIS doing so, Eskom will channel over 43 million to the new age until 2017, while Transnet have just spent 20 million on the new age in the past year. These are just 3 entities, but there are many more. It remains preposterous that in the midst of an economic crisis, this government continues to collude to waste taxpayer money to keep the Gupta state media empire alive. These are the issues that require urgent attention, Honourable Minister.
Your time is up.
If not, the many questions pertaining to the effectiveness and credibility of this department and your budget will remain. I thank you.